Chapter 2771. Woo Woo. It sounded like an ancient voice, as if a terrifying existence in the abyss had awakened. It was like a special sound wave, unique and creepy. The sudden sound caught everyone's attention. Standing outside the abyss, 9 Heavens sect, Heaven-breaking sect and the other forces widened their eyes in shock. This voice, this roar, definitely came from an existence at the level of a god emperor. Another void god emperor abyss species has appeared in the abyss. This is bad. We only have one void god emperor on our side. If another god emperor abyss species appears, they might attack us. The crowd growled in a low voice, their eyes fixed on the abyss in front of them. It was a pity that the god emperor abyss species was too far away. They couldn't see it at all. The situation is bad enough. I didn't expect another void god abyss species to appear. Some of them had a bitter look on their faces. The frontline planet of the Imperial Court is under attack by Dragon Palace. Some escaping disciples of the Imperial Court have spread the news on the artificial intelligence system. The artificial intelligence system is in an uproar now. A middle-aged man looked at the information on the artificial intelligence system and said to the old ancestor and the others, "Make an announcement immediately. The 9 Heavens sect can fight against the abyss species, but we won't participate in the internal conflicts of humans." The old ancestor of the 9 Heavens sect frowned slightly. He turned on his artificial intelligence system and said to the sect leader, "Yes, old ancestor." The sect leader took out his artificial intelligence system and turned it on. There were all sorts of news about Dragon Palace attacking the frontline planet of the Imperial Court. Countless disciples of the Imperial Court were shouting angrily that they would annihilate everyone from Dragon Palace and any forces related to Dragon Palace. They would let them know the consequences of attacking their planet. There were also countless comments. A Dragon Palace dared to attack the Imperial Court? Was Dragon Palace digging its own grave? The sect leader shook his head slightly as he read the messages. The entire Imperial Star domain still didn't know what was happening in the abyss. The sect leader immediately wrote a message and released it in the name of the 9 Heavens sect. "Follow the sect leader's example. We will send one too." The old ancestor of Heaven-breaking sect instructed. Whoa. But at this moment the voice was heard again. Everyone looked into the abyss again, their faces solemn. "This is bad. Another god emperor level abyss species is coming this way." At the same time in the sky above the abyss, Night God Emperor heard this voice again, and his expression instantly turned ugly. This void god emperor abyss seed in front of him had already given him a hard time, and now there was another one. Didn't Imperial Dynasty say that there was only one god emperor abyss seed? His face was dark as he looked around. It was time to escape. Another void god emperor abyss species had appeared. This was no longer something he could fight against. If he was not careful, he might be heavily injured. Find a way to escape and destroy the Dragon Palace. His face was extremely gloomy as he thought. Roar. However, the God Emperor's abyss-type berserk attacks made it hard for him to escape. If he could have left earlier, he would have already left and destroyed the Dragon Palace. Damn it. He gritted his teeth and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. He was ready to fight with his life on the line. When the God Emperor class abyss species in front heard the deep voice approaching, a look of surprise flashed in its eyes. It should be the only one guarding this place. Why would another God Emperor come? From this voice, it should be one of the two from the giant beast system. It roared and immediately sent out a message to attack the person in front of it. This person seemed slightly weak to it. In a one-on-one situation it could suppress him. If that person from the giant beast system came again, even if it could not kill him here, it could still injure him heavily. However, its roar did not receive any reply. Xiaozhai, I sensed the aura of the Dragon King. Over there, over there. The one who let out the ancient voice was Xiaozhai Kun. Above Xiaozhai's head, the earthling stood and pointed in a direction. Whoa. Xiaozhai's huge eyes swept across and his gaze landed on that figure. He felt a familiar feeling from him. His big brother's body also contained this kind of aura, and it was very familiar. He roared and increased his speed as he flew towards that figure. Man. That void god Emperor Abyss Seed saw Xiaozhai flying towards that group of humans. It felt suspicious and its body paused. However, it did not communicate with him. What does this void god Emperor Abyss Seed want? When the void god Emperor Abyss Seed in front of him paused, Night God Emperor was slightly startled. Its target is the rest of the humans. God Emperor Abyss Seeds all have extremely high intelligence. It knows that it will be hard to kill me, so it is attacking the rest of the humans. Night God Emperor suddenly saw a flash of light in front of him. The humans in front of him were mostly experts from the Dragon Palace. According to his senses, there were 270,000 God Kings in the Dragon Palace. This was definitely all the power of the Dragon Palace. If that Void God Emperor Abyss Seed charged over, the Dragon Palace would not be able to defend against it. That God Emperor Abyss Seed could easily slaughter everyone in the Dragon Palace. Thinking of this, he dispelled the thought of escaping immediately. Instead, he continued to tangle with the Void God Emperor Abyss Seed in front of him. Your Dragon Palace is lucky. There is no pain in dying in the hands of the Abyss Seed. If you die in my hands, I will definitely make you wish you were dead. He thought coldly in his heart. Not good, that's a Void God Emperor Abyss Seed. It is flying towards us. SSS, it really is a God Emperor Abyss Seed. Such terrifying power. We are doomed. When the small residents flew over, the disciples of the Sky Devil sect, Night Clan and other forces who were massacred saw it and were in despair. They could not even defend against the current situation. Now, there was another existence? Aha, the God Emperor Abyss Seed is flying over. It is here to kill us. Not only will we die, but everyone in the Dragon Palace will die too. Ah. Suddenly, a slightly crazed voice was heard. His words stunned all the disciples of the Sky Devil sect, Night Clan and other forces. Their frowning faces gradually revealed malevolent expressions. Some of the experts and disciples who had a stronger desire to survive had their eyes lit up. Perhaps, the arrival of this Void God Emperor Abyss Seed could give them a chance of survival. When a few roars were heard, Wang Xian sensed that a terrifying existence might be coming. However, this roar was very familiar to him. He even felt a tinge of intimacy. He stopped attacking the 4 guardians of the imperial court, who were already covered in injuries, and looked towards the depths of the abyss. A slightly malevolent, huge and terrifying figure was flying over. Its speed was terrifying. Chapter 2772. Oh no, Dragon King, there's a Void Emperor level abyss species flying over. When the small residents flew over, Tianjin's gaze swept over it and he frowned slightly. He immediately warned loudly. The rest of the members of Dragon Palace stopped their attacks and stared at the enormous abyss species with vigilance. Emperor-level abyss species. Imperial Dynasty's 4 protectors panted heavily. When they saw the God Emperor abyss type flying over, their expressions changed. Aha, this Emperor-level abyss species is here to attack us. It wants to destroy us. Dragon King, you're dead. You're dead. But very quickly, the 4 protectors' eyes were filled with excitement and ferociousness. Use this chance to escape. At the same time, the 4 of them transmitted their voices and shouted. The arrival of an Emperor-level abyss species was a chance of survival for them. With such an existence, the Dragon King and the rest of the members of Dragon Palace would not have the time to attack them. They could use this chance to escape. As long as they could escape, the Imperial Court could easily destroy the Dragon Palace. Even if the Dragon Palace had displayed terrifying strength. Wang Xian looked at the huge creature flying over. Although the creature in front of him gave him a familiar feeling, he could not let his guard down. After all, this was the first time he had seen such a creature. That Emperor-level abyss species is flying towards the Dragon King and the rest. They want to destroy them. Ha ha ha, retribution, retribution. Let's see how the Dragon King and the rest can escape from an Emperor-level existence. If we die, the members of the Dragon Palace will not survive. Neither will the Dragon Palace. A suspected Emperor-level abyss species was charging towards the Dragon King and the rest. This made the members of the Night Clan and Sky Demon sect excited and ferocious. This was their chance to escape and the chance for the Dragon Palace to be destroyed. The Dragon Palace might be in trouble. This battle was almost perfect. It's a pity that the Dragon Palace did not expect the Void Emperor-level abyss species to appear. At the entrance of the abyss, Jiao Shao and the other forces looked into the abyss. When they saw this, some experts commented. An Emperor-level abyss species was a disaster for everyone. To the Dragon Palace it was a disaster. Whoa! A roar rang out once more. At this moment, even Dragon Palace's Aoxia and the other 200,000 strong army stopped their attacks. Once that God Emperor-level abyss species attacked them, they would immediately rush over to help the Dragon King and the rest. Alternatively, they could wait for the Dragon King's order and teleport away. The members of the Night Clan and the Sky Demon cult looked excited and ferocious as they stared at the scene. Wang Xian was on high alert. Roving Heavenly Array and the rest were also on high alert. The God Emperor-level abyss species was getting closer and closer. With their strength, there was no need for them to run because their speed was too fast. There's a person on that God Emperor Abyss seed. Suddenly, Mao Zedong stared at the huge creature and saw a figure on it. He was shocked. Oh. His words caused everyone to be slightly shocked. There really is a figure. When the crowd looked over, their eyes widened and were filled with shock. Woo woo. At this time, the huge creature was already tens of thousands of kilometers away from them. It stopped abruptly, its huge eyes staring straight ahead. To experts like them, tens of thousands of kilometers was just a dozen meters for ordinary people. This figure. Wang Xian stared at the figure on the huge creature and squinted his eyes. He was very familiar. The Earth Dragon Emperor Tu Suanjia. At this time, Tu Suanjia stood on the roof of the small mansion and looked at Wang Xian. There's someone on top of this God Emperor level abyss species? Who is he? Isn't this an abyss species, but a powerful God Emperor demonic beast? The four guardians of the imperial court saw the small mansion stop suddenly and were shocked to see someone on top of it. May I know who you are? We are the guardians of the imperial court. One of the guardians hesitated for a moment before bowing and asking respectfully. The name of the imperial court held a high status in the entire resplendent star. If it was a powerful God Emperor from other galaxies, they would also show them some respect. Behind them, the Dragon Palace, the Night Clan, the Sky Demon Cult, and the other forces were also staring ahead with rapid breathing. Lord Dragon King, I'm Tu Suanjia, the Earth Dragon Emperor, your biological son. However, at this moment, the Tuscan on the small residence ignored the protector of the imperial court. He flew towards Wang Xian and shouted with an exaggerated expression on his face. Ha! Wang Xian was taken aback by his words. At the same time, the surrounding people widened their eyes in disbelief. Daddy Dragon King, Master Lan Qingyue asked me to bring the small mansion to look for you. I finally found you. I'm the Earth Dragon Emperor, your biological son. While Wang Xian was still in a daze, Tu Suanjia had already come to Wang Xian's side. He knelt before Wang Xian and shouted excitedly. His expression was extremely exaggerated. Wang Xian looked at the Earth Dragon Emperor and pursed his lips. However, his eyes soon lit up. Did Lan Qingyue ask you to look for me? Wang Xian stared at him and asked immediately. Yes, Dragon King. Master asked me to look for you. This is the small mansion, Xiao Lan's younger brother, Master's second Leviathan. Tu Suanjia replied immediately. Growl growl. As soon as he finished speaking, the small residence in front of him let out a low roar, and its figure slowly flew over. With the intelligence of the small mansion, he knew that the person in front of him would be his other master in the future. The small mansion swayed his huge body and came before Wang Xian. He rubbed his head against Wang Xian. It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Small mansion, right? Not bad, not bad. Wang Xian caressed the small mansion's head and said with a smile. Growl growl. The small mansion let out a low growl obediently. He moved his head slightly and came below Wang Xian. He lifted his head and let Wang Xian stand on it. How is this possible? What's going on? What's going on? When Wang Xian stood on the roof of the house, the four guardians of the imperial court, who were not far away, widened their eyes and recovered from the shock. They couldn't help but take a few steps back as they exclaimed in disbelief. What's going on? What's going on? A terrifying God Emperor level behemoth flew out from the abyss. It was the Dragon King's subordinate. That God Emperor level existence had completely treated the Dragon King as his master. And that pinnacle God King human addressed the Dragon King as his father? And he even said that he was the Dragon King's biological son? The Dragon Palace has an Emperor level existence. Chapter 2773, Collapse. Shocking. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. A huge creature flying out of the abyss, they thought it would be their chance to escape. They thought that this was an Emperor God-level abyss species that would cause the Dragon Palace to suffer heavy losses or even destroy the Dragon Palace. They thought it was an Emperor-level abyssal creature that could destroy Dragon Palace. But they would never have imagined that such an existence was actually a subordinate of the Dragon King, a subordinate of the Dragon Palace. Everything was going to be different if Dragon Palace had a Void God Emperor. The Dragon Palace actually had a Void God Emperor, then everything would be different. It was an Emperor God. How could this be? How is this possible? That God Emperor level existence is the subordinate of the Dragon King? How is this possible? No, it can't be like this. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. An Emperor God. An Emperor God. It's Dragon King's subordinate. What did I see? What did I see? The 4 protectors of the imperial court were not the only ones who had broken down. Behind them, the members of the Night Clan and the Sky Demon cult, who had ferocious expressions on their faces, had also completely broken down. They also thought that this was an opportunity for them. That God Emperor level creature would attack Dragon Palace. But it was Dragon King's subordinate. Their last chance of survival had been completely destroyed. Now, they were 100% sure that they were all going to die. Their chance of survival was less than 1 in 10,000. Some people's eyes were lifeless as they stood there in despair, waiting to be killed. They were defeated, completely defeated. It was over, it was all over. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Luckily we didn't become enemies with Dragon Palace. Void God Emperor, Dragon Palace has a Void God Emperor too. Who would have thought it would be like this? We're so lucky. If we were inside, Dragon Palace would definitely be destroyed. Even though Dragon Palace isn't as strong as the Imperial Court, they would still have to think twice before attacking Dragon Palace. The members of the Continent of the 9 Clouds, who were at the entrance of the deep chasm, were shaking. They were shocked and terrified. At the same time, they rejoiced in their hearts that a single decision had allowed them to escape a calamity. Everyone felt like they had just walked past the Grim Reaper. Aha, Dragon Palace is invincible, Dragon King is mighty. At this moment, the only ones who were excited were the Moon sect, the Beichuan sect, the Dragon Python group, and the Ancient God dynasty. The Dragon Palace had an emperor-level existence. They knew what that meant. This meant that after today's battle, the Imperial Court would have to consider carefully if they wanted to destroy them. They were determined to fight to the death, and now they had an 80% chance of surviving. Better than ever before. They understood the Dragon King. As long as the Dragon Palace was around, they would not be in too much danger. Excited. This time they had made the right choice. The Dragon Palace is invincible. The Dragon King is invincible. The tens of millions of disciples of the 4 forces roared in excitement, and their voices resounded throughout the entire abyss. There was another person who was still in a daze. Night God Emperor. He had wanted to watch the Emperor God level existence destroy the Dragon Palace and then think of a way to leave this place. In the end, this was the situation. The Dragon Palace was much more powerful than the Night Clan. This made his face extremely gloomy, and his heart beat violently. He let out an incomparably sullen roar to vent his anger. His blood-red eyes shone brightly, and the void divine kingdom behind him shone with a brilliant blue light. He wanted to escape from this place. After he became an Emperor God, even the Emperor God of the Imperial Court congratulated him personally. The guardians of the Imperial Court also greeted him respectfully and addressed him as Lord Night God Emperor. Whoever he wanted dead, he could die. Not even the Imperial Court would restrain him. But now he had to escape in a pathetic state. Sullen. Wang Xian heard the sullen voices above him and he looked over. His eyes fell on the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court in front of him. At this moment, the 4 of them were in a daze and they no longer had any fighting spirit. They looked at Wang Xian blankly and they were filled with despair. Xiaozhai, destroy them. Wang Xian ordered the Xiaozhai below him. Whoa. The Xiaozhai nodded immediately, waved his arm and swept his tail over. The 4 of them saw the attack from the Xiaozhai, but they did not resist. Facing the attack of the Void God level, they were already severely injured and had lost all resistance. With an Emperor God level existence in the Dragon Palace, they were not sure if the Imperial Court could take revenge for them in the future. Ping ping ping. The tail swept across and the 4 guardians of the Imperial Court died instantly. They did not roar nor did they say anything vicious. That was because the Dragon Palace was no longer a threat to them. The 4 guardians of the Imperial Court are dead. Everyone at the back trembled when they saw it. Dragon King, that Emperor Knight in the sky. At this moment, Tianjin suddenly looked at Wang Xian, squinted his eyes and spoke to him. Wang Xian was taken aback as he looked at Tianjin. Dragon King, based on my observation, Emperor Knight isn't strong. With the one below you and the rest of us, we have a 50% chance of keeping him here. If that Emperor God level abyss species is with us, we will have an 80% chance of success. Tianjin's eyes flickered as he spoke. He made a throat-slitting gesture with a sinister look. Wang Xian's eyes lit up, filled with coldness and murderous intent. He stared at the battlefield of Emperor Knight and patted the Xiaozhai lightly. Xiaozhai, can you communicate with that Emperor God level abyss species to fight against Emperor Knight? He squinted his eyes and asked the Xiaozhai. Woo. The Xiaozhai nodded, and a message was sent to Wang Xian's mind. Oh. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly when he received the message. According to the Xiaozhai, that Emperor God level abyss species was considered a friend. Tell it immediately that we will fight against that human Emperor God together. Wang Xian's eyes were burning as he roared. Woo woo, woo woo. The Xiaozhai roared at the Void God Emperor abyss species. The Void God Emperor abyss species responded immediately as it looked at Wang Xian and the rest doubtfully. However, it knew that the owner of the Xiaozhai was a human, so it wasn't too surprised. Woo woo. The Xiaozhai immediately sent a message to Wang Xian. That Emperor God level abyss species had agreed. Ha ha ha. Wang Xian couldn't help but burst into laughter when he heard the Xiaozhai. Tianjin, all members of the Dragon Palace, let's kill the Emperor God together today. I want the probability of killing him to be 100%. He immediately ordered the leaders of the Sky Formation. Ah, great. Dragon King, let's kill the Emperor God together. The leaders of the Dragon Palace replied loudly. Chapter 2774. Huh? What is Dragon Palace trying to do? That's a voice. What is it? When the leaders of the Dragon Palace roared with fighting spirit, everyone was shocked once again. What did they mean? Killing an Emperor God? Night God Emperor, we've made a lot of preparations for today's battle, but there's been a huge change in our plan. Originally, our Dragon Palace's plan was for 10 peak Divine Kings to fight you alone while the rest of the Dragon Palace members killed the Night Clan's Imperial Court members. However, we were surprised. This Divine Emperor was able to hold him back. Now we're ready for the next step of our plan. Night God Emperor, are you ready to die? Wang Xian looked at the Night God Emperor and asked with his lips curled into a smile. Dragon King wants to kill Night God Emperor. How is this possible? How can an Emperor God be killed so easily? Are the Dragon Kings of Dragon Palace crazy? Trying to kill Night God Emperor? All the people in the back stared with their eyes wide open, their expressions filled with shock. Today the Dragon Palace had given them too many shocks. Aha, Dragon King, I wonder if you've really become arrogant. How dare you try to kill me? Dream on. I, Night God Emperor, will repay you tenfold for what you've done to the Yongchang Void. Night God Emperor's face darkened when he heard Wang Xian. He roared with a hideous expression. As an Emperor God, even if Dragon Palace had an Emperor God, even if the Abyssal Seed and the Emperor God from Dragon Palace were to join forces, he was confident that he could escape. As for the 10 peak Divine Kings, it was impossible for them to fight him. After he became an Emperor God, he knew that an Emperor God and a Divine King were two different levels. Even a peak Divine King would find it hard to defend against a newly advanced Emperor God without the joint attack of 20 to 30 peak Divine Kings. Even if it was 20 to 30 peak Divine Kings, an Emperor God could still kill them all after some time. Next, the Emperor God from Dragon Palace would at most attack. As for Dragon King and the rest, they couldn't come close at all. The horrifying aftermath could severely injure or even kill them. This was the strength and terror of an Emperor God. Ah, good. Today our Dragon Palace will knock you off your pedestal. Dragon Palace leader, get ready. Wang Xian laughed maniacally as he roared. Buzz buzz buzz. While Wang Xian and the rest were talking, the heaven array had already arrived at the Dragon Peak. The entire Dragon Peak emitted a dazzling green light, and the 3 thorn monsters returned to the Dragon Peak. Soon, thorns emerged from the inside and condensed into a thorny monster. However, this time all the thorns were used to form a thorny monster. This bramble monster was 10,000 meters tall, and each of its thorns was 10 meters in diameter. They were filled with sharp thorns. There were holes on Thorn's head, 2 arms, chest, 2 legs and the back of its tail. Everyone get ready. Today our Dragon Palace will slaughter an emperor. Tianjin's blood was boiling at this moment. He moved and directly flew towards the hole in the thorny monster's head. Slaughter an emperor. Wang Xian let out a soft roar. In a flash, he flew towards the thorny monster and landed on its chest. Slaughter an emperor. Roving Heavens and the rest roared as they flew towards the holes on the thorny monster's chest. This action was similar to what Tianjin had done to capture Long Lei alive. However, the difference this time was that the entire array had condensed into a thorny monster. Tianjin, Wang Xian, Roving Heavens and the rest of the 10 pinnacle immortal kings had all entered the body of the thorny monster. We have to participate in something like slaughtering an emperor. At this time, Orochi and Demon Fiend flew over quickly. When the heavenly formation saw this, he smiled and opened 2 more holes. Buzz buzz buzz. Soon, the 12 pinnacle immortal kings had all entered the body of the thorny monster. Activate the energy. Today, let the Dragon King witness the powerful array created by Tianzhen. Tianzhen was at the head, and his eyes were filled with excitement and fanaticism. This was the array he had created after he became Dragon Witch, and it was also the array he was most proud of. The Dragon Witch had 9 attributes. Although each attribute was ordinary, he could switch between them quickly. Wang Xian and the rest released their energy into Tianzhen's body. Through his 9 attributes, Tianzhen was able to convert them into the most terrifying attack. Activate. Tianzhen roared, and Wang Xian and the rest released their energy immediately. Boom. In the next instant, the entire thorny monster seemed to have come to life, and a majestic aura surged forward. This aura was no weaker than an emperor god. What is this? How can it have such a terrifying attack? I can feel that this power is no weaker than me. In fact, it might even be stronger than me. Oh no. When the thorny monster unleashed its full power, Night God Emperor's expression changed instantly when he sensed the aura. His eyes widened, and his pupils were filled with fear and panic. What's going on? They were only a dozen pinnacle immortal kings. How could they unleash such terrifying aura? He had a bad feeling about this. He had just advanced to the Emperor God realm, and his strength was the weakest among the Emperor gods. If there were 3 Emperor gods of the same level and slightly stronger than him attacking him, he might really die here. At the thought of this, he felt uneasy. Aha, fight. Tianzhen roared excitedly, and his voice was filled with battle intent. Xiaozhai attack. Get that Emperor God Abyss species to cooperate with us. Wang Xian roared and ordered Xiaozhai. Woo-woo. Xiaozhai responded immediately, and with a move he charged towards Night God Emperor. The other Emperor God Abyss species shot out flames from its eyes, and the flames on its body burned brightly. Boom boom boom. The thorny monster took a step forward, and with Tianzhen as its brain, he controlled every move of the monster. Its huge arms swept across. Wang Xian and the rest were inside the body of the thorny monster, acting as energy. The attack started immediately. Father Dragon King, I want to join in as well. I Tuzhai can also contribute my strength. At the back, Tuzhai was shocked to see the Dragon King and the rest gathering on a thorny monster, and unleashing the aura of a Void Emperor. The Dragon King was indeed the Dragon King. The Dragon Palace was indeed the Dragon Palace. In the future he had to hug the thigh of the Dragon King tightly. This was the husband that his master had been thinking about day and night. This was the Dragon King who created the true Dragon Son of Heaven. Chapter 2775. Hiss, the Dragon King wants to kill an emperor. The Dragon Palace wants to kill Night God Emperor. The behemoth that listens to the Dragon King is already attacking. That Abyss God Emperor can communicate with the Dragon King. What's that? How can something formed by a formation have such power? It doesn't feel any weaker than a God Emperor? Is this the true power of the Dragon Palace? From what the Dragon King said, that terrifying bramble monster was created to fight against Night God Emperor. Can that monster fight against Night God Emperor? It's possible. After all, Night God Emperor has just become a God Emperor. He didn't have time to consolidate his power before joining the war. Could the Dragon Palace really kill the Night God Emperor? The fall of a God Emperor, this. When everyone at the back saw the Dragon King and the group of people from Dragon Palace attacking Night God Emperor, all of them widened their eyes. What a magnificent scene this was. Who had seen the fall of a God Emperor in their lifetime? If not for the Abyss War, they wouldn't have seen a God Emperor fight. As for the fall of a God Emperor, there was an event that shocked the entire bedazzling star territory tens of millions of years ago. It was called the Battle of Emperors. The Battle of Emperors' fall had sent the 7 regions into a frenzy. It was a civil war in the heavenly witchcraft domain that broke out at the edge of the Imperial Star Territory. After the battle, a vast battlefield of Emperor's Fall had been formed. Tens of millions of years had passed since then. Ordinary god kings could still be severely injured or even killed by the chaotic energy inside. It was easy to imagine how fierce that battle was. Although the battle ahead might not reach that level, it was still terrifying. No matter what, this battle would go down in history. And they were the witnesses of that historic battle. Everyone held their breath and stared ahead in a daze. It's a pity that I, the Tuscan, can't participate in this war. But it's alright. Brothers of the Dragon Palace, let's watch the Dragon King and the others kill that little rascal. Ah. The Tisonian laughed heartily as he retreated to the back. So it's you pieces of trash who want to destroy the Dragon Palace. TSK. Just watch for now. When Night God Emperor dies, you can all kill yourselves. Out of the range of the battlefield, the Tuscan scanned the Night Clan and the Sky Demon cult. He came to the front of the people of Dragon Palace in a very familiar manner. Boom boom boom. Just at this moment, the terrifying sound of energy colliding could be heard, causing everyone to shiver slightly. Their gazes shifted away from the Homo sapiens who had been talking too much. In the abyss ahead, green wood elemental energy, sky blue water elemental energy, violent fire elemental energy, and gray special energy instantly enveloped a radius of several billion kilometers. That world looked like it was the end of the world. The terrifying collisions made it impossible to see what was going on inside. One could vaguely see a sky full of thorns flashing in that side of the world. Even though they couldn't see it clearly, everyone stared at it with wide eyes. Some of the more daring ones even entered the abyss to take a closer look. Bam! At this moment, a terrifying collision sound rang out. Everyone felt the sky blue light in the distance tremble. Just now, the Night God Emperor was at a disadvantage when facing the Flame God Emperor's abyss seed, and it was extremely difficult for him to escape. Now that he is surrounded by 3 people of the same level, he is definitely at a disadvantage. Everyone exclaimed as they looked at the sky blue light trembling. At the same time in the abyss, Xiao Zhai's long and terrifying tail swept across the Void God Kingdom in the center. The terrifying attack caused the entire Void God Kingdom to tremble violently. Above them, cracks appeared on the buildings. Oh no, oh no. What kind of existence is this damned creature? How can it be so huge? And how can the attacks of the Dragon Palace be so terrifying? At this moment, the Night God Emperor's face was filled with anxiety. He had brought the Void God Kingdom here to increase his combat power. The entire Void God Kingdom covered an area of tens of millions of kilometers. However, the size of that huge creature was at least 70 to 80 kilometers. It was extremely terrifying. When his attack landed on the Void Divine Kingdom, it could easily cause significant damage. Facing such an attack, he couldn't resist at all, because he still had to face the attacks of 2 other people of the same level. Just to resist the experts of the Dragon Palace and the Flame God Emperor's Abyss Seed, he had already suffered some injuries. Facing the attack of that huge creature, he could only watch. But if he allowed it to continue, the entire Void God Kingdom would be heavily damaged or even collapse. Once the Void God Kingdom collapsed, he would also suffer a backlash and be heavily injured. If this continued, he would be finished and could only wait for death. No, I've only just become a Void God Emperor. I still have a long time. I, the Night God Emperor, can't die here. Run. He gritted his teeth and roared in his heart. The Void God Kingdom and his body shone with powerful light. Water from the heavens, connect the heavens. With a roar, he shot up into the sky like a stream of water. His body turned into a long line from top to bottom. Within this line, his speed was abnormally terrifying. Haha, do you think it's possible to escape? The heavenly formation saw that the Night God Emperor wanted to abandon his Void God Kingdom and flee. His eyes shone with a sinister light. At his peak, he had been dozens of times stronger than the Night God Emperor. That battle of Emperor's Fall had shaken the entire starry sky. His experience wasn't something a peak God King expert could compare to. It wasn't something an ordinary God Emperor could compare to either. In this form he could explode with the full might of a God Emperor. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The water connected the sky and so did the thorny vines. The thorny vines intertwined and shot up into the sky. Damn, such fast reflexes. The Night God Emperor saw that the sky water line above him had been stopped, and the thorny vines had entered the water line and were attacking him like poisonous snakes. This caused his heart to sink. Even the Flame God Emperor's Void Seed had no time to react to his escaping move. But it had been stopped by a guy formed by a formation. How could they be so strong? The moment the Night God Emperor was stopped, an incomparably huge flaming claw attacked him directly. Water sky. His expression was extremely dark as he roared. Splash. Around him, the rain covered the entire space. He immediately dove into the rain. Bang! The huge flaming claw missed its target. Boom boom boom. But at this moment, sounds of destruction came from below. The Night God Emperor paled slightly and looked down with his blood-red eyes. That colossal creature continued to attack his Void God Kingdom. Chapter 2776. Seeing that his attack was dodged, the Emperor-level Abyss Demon was embarrassed. He lifted his head and let out a roar. Streams of horrifying flames were spat out from his mouth. Each ball of flame was like a miniature version of himself. They emitted a violent aura and attacked all the raindrops. The flames collided with the sky-blue raindrops. The entire space looked extremely horrifying. All of you get lost. Night God Emperor's figure was forced out as he roared at them with bloodshot eyes. Trident. He roared and extended his palm downwards. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Below, the entire Void God Kingdom shook and a sky-blue radiance shot up into the sky. A trident blue weapon appeared in his hand. The weapon was 2 meters tall and emitted a horrifying aura. You forced me to do this. Let me tell you, even if I die today, one of you will die with me. Night God Emperor's hands trembled as he held the weapon in his hand and roared with a hideous expression. This weapon was once the strongest weapon of his ancestor and the most precious treasure in the entire Void God Kingdom. Similarly, it was this weapon that suppressed the entire Void God Kingdom. Without this weapon, the defense of the Void God Kingdom would be weakened by half. He had just broken through to the Void God Emperor realm and had not been able to control it perfectly. It could not differentiate between friend and foe. This was also the reason why he had not used it. But now that he had been forced into a corner, he had to give it a try. It's just an Emperor-level divine weapon. It hasn't reached rank 2 yet. You're still too weak. Even with this divine weapon, you can't save your life. Seeing the divine weapon in Night God Emperor's hand, Sky Formation's eyes were filled with coldness as he roared. Is that so? You guys from Dragon Palace are courting death. If I'm going to die, you guys will be the first to die. Night God Emperor's face was filled with malice as he charged towards Wuxia and the rest. Beside him, the Emperor-level Abyss Demon didn't care about their nonsense. It flapped its huge wings and condensed into red flaming meteorites that smashed towards Night God Emperor. Clang, clang, clang. The 3-pronged divine weapon in Night God Emperor's hand trembled. Rays of sharp light aimed at the surroundings and directly broke through. The flaming meteors were directly destroyed by the sharp edge of the trident divine artifact. Roar, roar. When the God Emperor-level Abyss species saw this, it was slightly surprised. The Night God Emperor, who was wielding this trident divine weapon, was clearly much stronger than before. At the very least, he could contend against it. Boom. The Night God Emperor's eyes were bloodshot as he locked his gaze on the thorny monster's chest. Hee. When Tianjin saw him charging over, a look of contempt appeared on his face. So. The next moment, the sky full of thorns attacked the Night God Emperor. Each thorn was 10 meters thick and looked like a giant snake in the starry sky. It was incomparably terrifying. Break. Night God Emperor gritted his teeth and raised the trident divine weapon with trembling hands. A sky-blue light burst forth from the trident and the sound of flowing water could be heard continuously. Dripping water where stone. He roared furiously and some sky-blue water droplets pierced through his arm, causing a large amount of blood to gush out. He gritted his teeth and his eyes were filled with madness. To him, the Dragon Palace was undoubtedly the easiest to break out of the 3 existences of the same level. As long as he could kill the experts of the Dragon Palace, he was confident that he could escape. He let out a hoarse voice as the trident shone brightly and pierced through the thorns one by one. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The piercing sound was incessant, but soon his expression changed. Because it had been a second, and he had not taken a single step forward. This caused his expression to change drastically. To an God Emperor, a lot of things could be done in a second. At this moment, the Flame God Emperor Abyss species was charging towards him. How is this possible? With the power of the trident divine weapon, how can it not break through the defense of this thorny monster? He was extremely gloomy and couldn't help but roar. Bam, bam, bam. But at this moment, there were sounds of destruction coming from below. He held the trident vertically in front of him to withstand the attack of the Flame God Emperor Abyss species and looked down. Below him, a third of his Void Divine Kingdom had been destroyed. This caused his face to turn slightly pale. If the Void Kingdom suffered too much damage, he would also be severely injured. Swish, swish, swish. However, before he could react, thorns suddenly whipped towards him. Oh no, the Dragon Palace can still attack, and such a powerful attack at that. It was as though a willow had descended from the 9 heavens. Sensing the power, Night God Emperor's expression changed drastically. To him, the monster formed by the Dragon Palace was the weakest. Although his attack had been blocked, it should have consumed a lot of its energy. Now he realized that everything was wrong. Boom, boom, boom. Thorns after thorns attacked him, causing him to spit out blood uncontrollably. His body flew backwards. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, the Abyss species pounced towards him and tried to devour him with its huge mouth. the crisis of death loomed over Night God Emperor. A divine rain domain. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared. The Void Kingdom shone brightly and raindrops appeared within a radius of billions of kilometers. As the raindrops fell on him, they disappeared instantly. Lala divine powers? Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he saw this. Lala divine powers were the most powerful means of God Emperors. They could change the world and were extremely powerful. Within such a divine power, the user could mobilize all the energy in the area. Just a struggle before death. Night God Emperor, don't even think of escaping with a single raindrop. Tianjin roared as green leaves bloomed from the monster's body. These leaves weren't physical and were similar to the array that had enveloped Dragon Star previously. The misty leaves immediately spread out, completely covering the entire rain field. This is impossible. This is impossible. You guys aren't God Emperor level experts. How can you release Lala divine powers? How is this possible? At this moment, a voice of disbelief was heard from a corner of the rain domain. Lala divine powers could be touched by a peak god king, but it was impossible for them to release such powerful divine powers. The scene before him was completely beyond his understanding. Hee because I'm a sorcerer. I'm the strongest sorcerer in this resplendent starry sky. Tianjin's arrogant voice was heard. He was actually bragging. At most, he would call himself a junior sorcerer. He was still far from being a sorcerer. Chapter 2777, Sorcerer? Sorcerer? Night God Emperor's figure appeared in the rain domain. His expression kept changing when he heard Sky Formation's words. How can you be a sorcerer? You're talking nonsense. He roared in disbelief. He knew a little about sorcerers. The strongest force in the Sky Sorcerer domain was the Sorcerer Association. Their ultimate goal was to become a sorcerer. But how many in the entire Sorcerer Association would dare to call themselves sorcerers? He looked around and realized that his rain domain was completely covered by a wood-based energy. He was extremely embarrassed. The nomological mystique rain domain was his greatest trump card. After using the rain domain, as long as a drop of rain escaped from here, he would be able to escape with it. But now, his rain domain was covered and he was completely trapped. This gave him a very bad premonition. Sky Formation's face was filled with coldness when he heard his doubts. He waved his arm and several thorns lashed at Night God Emperor. TSK. You've hit a sore spot for Sky Formation. Kill him. Orochi and Demon Fiend let out sinister laughter. Rumble, rumble, rumble. When Sky Formation controlled the thorny monster to attack, terrifying flames suddenly rose. The surrounding temperature rose abruptly. That God Emperor level existence has also released nomological mystique. Night God Emperor, prepare to die. Ah. Wang Xian and the rest could feel the terrifying flames. Their eyes lit up as they roared with laughter. Oh no, is Night God Emperor going to die here? I can't accept this. The Night God Emperor trembled as he looked at the rising flames and the thistles and thorns rushing towards him. His eyes were filled with indignation. He had just advanced to become a God Emperor. Bam bam bam. At this moment, violent noises sounded continuously from below. Night God Emperor's body trembled as he spat out a huge mouthful of blood. His eyes were also overflowing with tears of blood. He looked down hurriedly. More than half of his Void Divine Kingdom had already been destroyed. Oh! He roared in despair with tears of blood all over his face. The God Kingdom was the energy source of a god. Once the God Kingdom was destroyed, one's recovery ability would be greatly weakened. In fact, the destruction of a divine kingdom would cause great harm to one's body. After that, every time the manner destroyed the Void God Kingdom, the Night God Emperor's injuries would worsen. His divine kingdom had been destroyed, and now he was facing two attacks of the same level. The crisis of death was already lingering in his heart. Crackle. At this moment, the Inferno Divine Emperor had already released his Abyss-type nomological sacred art. The sound of fire-burning raindrops rang out. Night God Emperor's face was covered in blood. He was in a frenzied state as he gripped the three-pronged divine weapon tightly. Dragon Palace, Dragon King, even if I die today, I will take you with me. I'll fight it out with you. He roared crazily and poured all the energy in his body into the trident divine weapon. The three-pronged divine artifact radiated a vast law of water. His entire body seemed to have fused with the trident artifact. He directly turned into a blue light and attacked the thorn monster. Everything that happened today was caused by the Dragon Palace, the Dragon King and the others. The death of the Night Clan disciple and his current situation were all because of the Dragon Palace. Now that he was facing the threat of death, his heart was filled with indignation and rage. Everything was because of the Dragon Palace. Even if he died, he would kill everyone from the Dragon Palace. Seeing the incoming attack, Sky Formation's eyes were cold and murderous. Did you hear the sound inside? Did you hear it? It's Night God Emperor's roar. It's Night God Emperor. He has been forced into a corner. It's over, it's over. What's going on inside? Is Night God Emperor going to die? Does Night God Emperor want to perish together with the Dragon King? Our old ancestor, the sounds of the battle in front of them rang out incessantly. When the roars of the Night God Emperor rang out, everyone's eyes widened in shock. Night God Emperor's voice was filled with grief and indignation. They could already imagine Night God Emperor's situation. All the disciples of the Night Clan who were still alive had the color of death in their eyes. Once their old ancestor, their God Emperor, perished, the Night Clan would be completely finished. A God Emperor is going to perish? At the entrance of the abyss, the experts of Jiao Tian Broken Sky were trembling. A God Emperor perished. A God Emperor perished. How many God Emperors were there in the entire Imperial Star region? Now one was going to perish. Moreover, Night God Emperor had just become an God Emperor. Is Night God Emperor going to perish together with the Dragon King? Is the Dragon King going to die too? Very likely. After all, Night God Emperor is a true God Emperor. Even if he is killed, the Dragon King and the others will have to pay a price. Moreover, the Dragon King and the others used a special method to fight against Night God Emperor. If Night God Emperor really wants to save some people, he can still do it. The experts at the side were discussing. This battle had truly broadened their horizons and shocked their hearts. Boom boom boom. Arg, I can't accept this. To think that I, Night God Emperor, have just become an God Emperor. I still have endless life and endless power. I can't accept this, I can't accept this. At this moment, a voice filled with despair and indignation resounded in the sky. Within a radius of tens of billions of kilometers, even the planets at the front line could hear it clearly. Along with the screams and indignation, there was a series of roars. Upon hearing this voice, everyone trembled. They widened their eyes for a long time and even their eyes were a little bloodshot. At this moment, in the center of the battlefield, there was a completely collapsed void god kingdom. In the sky above there was a corpse floating. The corpse was covered in flames and tiny thorns pierced through his body. He widened his eyes and lay there with indignation. The sky formation controlled the thorny monster to fly over slowly and look down at Night God Emperor from above. Cough 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 cough. Night God Emperor used his last bit of vitality to support his body and stared at Wang Xian. He was going to die. Before he died, he didn't even kill a single expert from the Dragon Palace. Don't be so indignant. When you dared to kill my disciple, your ending was already decided. It's just a few years less of your life. Wang Xian stared at Night God Emperor and said plainly. You. He opened his mouth and wanted to speak, but a large amount of blood gushed out. As in God Emperor, you could have lived a carefree life and led the Night Clan to the peak. It's a pity that you have offended the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian said slowly. He waved his arm and the claw formed by the law landed on his head. Bam! The new God Emperor had fallen. Emperor fall. Chapter 2778, Swoosh. When the life force of the Night God Emperor completely disappeared, raindrops appeared out of nowhere in the abyss and fell downwards. It was raining in the abyss. The fall of a powerful existence was usually accompanied by a change in heaven and earth. It was especially so for someone of Emperor Knight's level. The terrifying energy from the dissipation of his vitality could affect the abyss here. Emperor Knight might be the shortest living emperor in this resplendent starry sky. Back when he became an emperor, he was the center of attention and looked down on everyone. The Dragon Palace, which was even stronger than the Night Clan, was called a small Dragon Palace. But now, Emperor Knight had fallen in the hands of the Dragon Palace. This might be something that he could never have imagined back then. Seeing the fall of the Night God Emperor and the fall of a human God Emperor, the Fire Void God Emperor Abyss type let out an excited roar. It swept its gaze across Wang Xian and the group, and then fell on the small mansion. Whoa! The small mansion transmitted some information to it and flew towards Wang Xian's location. Hee hee. Wang Xian chuckled. With a swift move, he landed directly on the top of the mansion. He waved his arm and put away the Night God Emperor's corpse. At the same time, he also put away the Void God Kingdom. It's raining, it's raining. It's raining in the abyss too. This is. When Emperor Night flew over after becoming an emperor, he was accompanied by rain. The rain now gives off a sorrowful feeling. This is a sign that Emperor Night has fallen. The Night God Emperor has fallen. Behind them, everyone's jaws dropped when they saw the sudden heavy rain. From the heavy rain they had already received a message. An Emperor Night had fallen. At this moment, everyone from the Night Clan and Sky Demon sect felt their vision go dark. Although they already had an answer in their hearts, it was still hard for them to accept the outcome. Their faces were ashen and their hearts were dead. Emperor Night has fallen. Where are the Dragon King and the rest? At the entrance of the abyss, a group of experts stood there and stared into the abyss. Emperor Night had fallen, but what about the Dragon King and the rest? Were there any experts who were killed by the Night God Emperor's counterattack before his death? It's here. Look. At this moment, exclamations sounded and everyone looked into the abyss. A huge monster slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. On both sides of the gigantic creature, there were more than 10 figures lined up in a row. That was the group of peak God King powerhouses of the Dragon Palace. That's the Dragon King. At this moment, everyone saw the Dragon King standing on the head of the gigantic creature, looking down at the void in front of him. The Dragon King is not dead. Not a single expert of the Dragon Palace is dead. Hiss! Night God Emperor's final counterattack didn't even kill a single one. Seeing the gigantic creature slowly flying over, everyone's faces were filled with shock. The Night God Emperor was dead, but everyone in the Dragon Palace was alive. Wang Xian stood on the top of the mansion. With his speed, he soon arrived in front of the disciples of the Dragon Palace. In the center of the Dragon Palace disciples were a group of experts and disciples from the Night Clan and the Heavenly Devil cult. Night God Emperor is dead. Wang Xian stood on the house and uttered these 5 words plainly. The Night God Emperor was dead. Aha, the Night Clan is finished. We're finished? Pooh. Wang Xian's words silenced the surroundings. Before long, a calm laughter filled with despair was heard. As soon as he finished his sentence, he held the sharp sword in his hand and committed suicide. Their fates had been decided. Their faith had collapsed and they were at their wits' end. They might as well commit suicide. Let's die together. After one person committed suicide, many old and middle-aged men closed their eyes and shouted loudly. Don't be so sad. Don't be so miserable. Today is a good day. The winner takes all. Congratulations on your defeat. Die happily. Demon Fiend looked at those who had committed suicide and laughed heartily. There wasn't the slightest emotion on his face. That's right. Today is a good day. Everything that you want will come true. Today is a good day. Let's welcome the spring breeze when we open our doors. Orochi grinned. Fuck brother, why are you singing? Aha, the Dragon King is invincible. The Dragon Palace is invincible. Tucson looked at Demon Fiend Orochi and was slightly speechless. Following which, he raised his arm and shouted. The Dragon King is invincible. The Dragon Palace is invincible. The rest of the members of the Dragon Palace were also exhilarated as they shouted. The Dragon King is invincible. The words Dragon Palace is invincible reverberated throughout the abyss. Clean up the surroundings. Let's get out. Wang Xian looked at the members of the Night Clan and Sky Devil sect and said coldly. Yes. The members of the Dragon Palace listened to the order. The Night Clan did not have many people to begin with. In less than 20 seconds they were all cleared. Facing the attack of the Dragon Palace again, they had lost all resistance. All they could do was close their eyes and wait for death. Just as Demon Fiend had said, the winner takes all. If the Dragon Palace was weak, it would be the Dragon Palace waiting to be slaughtered. The ones who died would be the disciples of the Dragon Palace. North River Sect, Dragon Python Group, Ancient God Dynasty, bring your disciples back to the Devil's Island first. Go to a place near our Dragon Palace planet. Don't worry. The Dragon Palace will handle the rest. Wang Xian looked at the members of the North River Sect and said. Yes, Dragon King. Thank you, Dragon King. We have been indebted to the Dragon Palace. Today we are just asking for peace of mind. The members of the North River Sect said excitedly. Wang Xian nodded his head plainly. The members of the Dragon Palace quickly cleaned up the battlefield and picked up the corpses. This time the Dragon Palace had gained a lot. Dragon King, it's done. Prime Minister Turtle reported excitedly. Soon the entire Abyss battlefield was cleaned up. Let's go. Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile. Buzz buzz. The Dragon Peak started moving. Some members of the Heaven's Eye Arrow unit entered the Dragon Peak. The rest of the 200,000 experts of Dragon Palace accompanied the Dragon Peak and flew out of the abyss in a mighty manner. When they came, they were surrounded by enemies. When they returned, they would be invincible. Whoa! Xiao Zhai let out a low growl as he stared at the world outside the abyss with curiosity. The Dragon Palace is out. The Dragon King is out. Outside the abyss, Jiao Xiao and the other experts and disciples were a little flustered when they saw the Dragon Palace flying over. All of them looked at the gigantic creature in awe, looking at the Dragon King on top of it. We didn't go against the Dragon Palace. I don't think the Dragon King will kill us. Let's pay our respects. The Laozu of the Nine Heavens sect said to all the disciples. Welcome back to the Dragon Palace. Congratulations, Dragon King. Chapter 2779. Welcome back to the Dragon Palace. Congratulations, Dragon King. Thunderous voices reverberated at the entrance of the abyss. Everyone from the Nine Heavens sect bowed down, their eyes filled with respect. This was respect from the bottom of their hearts. The Dragon Palace had won today's battle. The strength that the Dragon Palace had displayed had shocked them. A behemoth at the level of an Emperor God, and the terrifying thorny monster from the Dragon Palace that could go against an Emperor God. Close to 300,000 God King experts. Although their strength was much weaker than the Imperial Court, would the Imperial Court dare to fight against such a Dragon Palace? Especially when the Battle of the Abyss had broken out. Another point was that the Emperor God monster under the Dragon King could communicate with the Abyss species of the Emperor God level. What did this mean? No matter what, the current Dragon Palace had become a terrifying existence. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and nodded. Dragon King, the front line has been settled. At this moment at the front lines, Du Jiao led over 10,000 God Kings of the Dragon Palace and flew over, reporting excitedly. Great. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the planets in front of him and revealed a faint smile. He patted Xiao Zhai's head and flew towards Du Jiao. Sky Array, Prime Minister Turtle and the rest flew over immediately. Seeing this, Du Jiao quickly followed suit. Dragon King, we've taken down all the planets. I've also killed that Imperial Court protector, but many of the Imperial Court experts escaped. Du Jiao came to Wang Xian and said fervently. He had done something huge. What about the teleportation array? Wang Xian asked. The teleportation array has been destroyed. It will take a day or two for the Imperial Court experts to arrive. Du Jiao replied immediately. Even the Void Emperor will need 5 to 6 hours to reach such a distance. Heavenly Formation calculated for a moment before speaking. 5 to 6 hours? I'm afraid this place will be the abyss in 5 to 6 hours. Wang Xian murmured. Dragon King, we've gotten quite a lot of treasures and corpses of the abyss species. We've hit the jackpot. Du Jiao said excitedly. Wang Xian chuckled and looked at the Tuscans beside him. Hee, Dragon King, it's me, the Earth Dragon Emperor. The Tuscans walked over to Wang Xian respectfully and chuckled as he spoke. Be honest. Where are Blue Moon and the others? Tell me about their situation. Wang Xian patted him and asked. Yes, Dragon King. You might not know this, but back then, when Master and Master Lingxiu were being hunted down, Xiaolan brought them to escape and happened to meet this vile person. We entered the energy tide, passed through a long black hole, and entered a chaotic region. We almost died there. Luckily Xiaolan and Master were powerful. But when we rushed out of the chaotic region, we met some disciples of the Imperial Court. At first they were fine, but later on they suddenly coveted Xiaolan and wanted to obtain Xiaolan. Master and the others naturally did not agree. After they wanted to kill Master, we killed them instead. However, we didn't know their background and strength at that time. In the end, we were hunted for a few years. Fortunately, Lil Blue grew up quickly and escaped the calamity time and time again. But because of Lil Blue's rapid growth, we attracted the attention of the experts of the Imperial Court. They wanted Lil Blue even more. Later on, we went through many hardships to escape to the Abyss Seed. Along the way, I almost died. Luckily, Master saved me. However, my Earth Divine Dragon real body and Master Lingxiu were separated from us during the escape. What? Lingxiu was separated from you guys? The Tuscan's Wang Xian's expression changed drastically. He interrupted her immediately with a murderous look in his eyes. Yes, Dragon King. But don't worry, Dragon King. My Earth Divine Dragon real body will protect Master Lingxiu. Moreover, I can sense that my real body is not dead yet. This means that Master Lingxiu will not die either. I, the Tuscans, guarantee with my life that as long as I'm not dead, Master Lingxiu will be fine. The Abyssal raised his head and said with a look of loyalty. Wang Xian looked a little embarrassed. He wasn't too worried about Qingyue's safety because she had inherited the legacy of the ancient god Kuan breeder and had Xiaolan. She had many tricks up her sleeves. However, Sun Lingxiu didn't have so many tricks up her sleeves. Fortunately, the Dragon Palace did not sense Lingxiu's death. Continue. Wang Xian said with a solemn face. Yes, Dragon King. When we entered the abyss, the experts from the imperial court were still chasing us. However, the abyss was like a fish in water to Xiaolan. Xiaolan devoured a large number of abyss species and grew stronger. In the end, she possessed the strength of an emperor god. After Xiaolan became an emperor god, we were safe. Master nurtured Xiao Zhai and later had a conflict with an emperor god abyss species in the abyss. After killing it, Xiao Zhai also possessed the strength of an emperor god. After that battle, we also got to know the other two emperor god abyss species in the abyss. We called them Huosha and Minghe. Minghe has been trying to stir up trouble and expand the abyss. Master and I are filled with hatred for the imperial court. Master Lingxiu's current situation is even more unknown. Therefore we joined forces with Minghe Sha. However, we are mainly responsible for the border between Pingyi Island and the imperial court. The war has yet to break out. The Tuscans changed his narration and stood beside Wang Xian respectfully. Imperial court. Wang Xian's eyes shone with cold murderous intent when he heard him. The Tuscans made it sound simple. However, Wang Xian could feel the dangers involved. To be able to force Lingxiu to be separated from the Green Moon and force an ancient god Kuan breeder to flee for a few years, they must have dodged all kinds of calamities and life-and-death crises. How's the situation over at the Green Moon? Wang Xian asked with a gloomy face. Dragon King, the situation over at Master's side is still fine. We have the advantage of the abyss. They won't dare to attack us. The Tuscans replied immediately. How long does it take to reach the Green Moon from the abyss over here? How long does it take to reach from the abyss over at the Devil Island? Wang Xian continued to ask with flickering eyes. With Xiao Zhai's speed it's about the same. The Tuscans pondered for a moment before replying. All right. All Dragon Palace disciples, get ready to return to the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle, declare war on the imperial court immediately. Wang Xian's eyes shone with murderous intent as he ordered the Dragon Palace members behind him. Yes, Dragon King. Yes, Dragon King. The group of members and Prime Minister Turtle answered immediately. Prime Minister Turtle took out the artificial intelligence system immediately and revealed a cold and ruthless expression. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the imperial court until one side is destroyed. Chapter 2780. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the imperial court until one side is destroyed. It was a very brief announcement. However, everyone knew very well what this line of words meant. All disciples of Dragon Palace, enter the Dragon Peak. At this moment, the Heavenly Formation Commander, Long Feng, came over and said to all the members. The members of Dragon Palace immediately flew towards the Dragon Peak. Dragon King, I can send the Dragon Peak back directly. If you want to send the small residents over, I will need half an hour to set up the formation. Tianjin flew over and said to Wang Xian. Set up the array formation and bring the small residents over. Wang Xian replied immediately. It's Dragon King. Tianjin nodded. The group of Dragon Palace members entered the Dragon Peak. Slowly, the entire Dragon Peak became illusory and then disappeared. Little Mansion, go over there and coordinate with the Heavenly Formation. Wang Xian transmitted his voice to the house. Whoa! Xiao Zhai shook his huge body and flew to the side. Heavenly Formation immediately set up a formation around him. The entire Dragon Peak has actually disappeared. This is a large-scale transmission array. At this moment, not far away, the experts of the various forces were shocked when they saw this scene. The array master of Dragon Palace is really terrifying. Some experts murmured. One should know that the entire Dragon Peak was the size of a planet. However, it could be teleported directly. This showed how powerful the array masters of the Dragon Palace were. This domain is about to be devoured by the abyss. Everyone leave as soon as possible. At this moment, Wang Xian's voice sounded. Is this place going to be devoured by the abyss? Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, everyone's expressions changed as they looked into the abyss. In their line of sight, a large number of abyssal species flew over, and everyone's expression changed slightly. Look at the AI. The AI has made a statement on Dragon Palace. At this time, an astonished voice rang out. Some people immediately opened their brains. The Dragon Palace will declare war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. When everyone saw this line of words, their expressions changed. They had a bad feeling in their hearts. The Imperial Star region would soon descend into war. The Imperial Court, which had stood in the Imperial Star region for hundreds of millions of years, had finally met its match. The Dragon Palace's announcement had attracted the attention of countless people on the AI. Not long ago, the Dragon Palace attacked the Imperial Dynasty's frontline planet and killed the Imperial Dynasty experts and disciples. This matter had already caused a commotion in the Imperial Dynasty. The entire artificial intelligence system was full of curses for the Dragon Palace. A large number of comments said that the Dragon Palace was courting its own destruction. Now that they saw the Dragon Palace declare war on the Imperial Dynasty, numerous people on the computer laughed. Haha, this is the biggest joke in the world. This is the funniest joke I've ever seen in my life. A Dragon Palace actually declared war on the Imperial Court until one side is destroyed. Is there anyone who wants to die like this? What happened? Why did the Dragon King of Dragon Palace lose his mind and become so crazy? He actually declared war against the Imperial Dynasty. Can't you see that you are on the same level as the Imperial Dynasty? Haha, Dragon Palace is really arrogant. During this period of time, many people said that Dragon Palace is strong. Now, they actually dare to declare war against Imperial Court. I guess Dragon Palace won't survive more than 3 days. I'm guessing that one day later, a God Emperor from the Imperial Court will descend upon the Dragon Palace and destroy it with a wave of his hand. Not long after the Dragon Palace released this message, it attracted countless replies. Seeing this message, everyone felt that it was ridiculous. In the eyes of everyone in the Imperial Star region, the Dragon Palace and the Imperial Court were like ants and elephants. They weren't on the same level at all. Even though they had just found out that Dragon Palace was attacking the frontline planets of the Imperial Court, they still found this declaration of war laughable. The frontline was because the Imperial Court and the Night Races, the Arch Knight, had entered the abyss to hunt the abyssal demons. Maybe the Imperial Court and the Night God the Arch would have already destroyed the Dragon Palace. The Night Race might have already destroyed it without the Imperial Court's help. A few days ago, the Night God the Arch had killed the Dragon King's disciple, and the Dragon King didn't even dare to fart. Provoking the Imperial Court, what a joke. They didn't even dare to be arrogant in front of the Night God the Arch, let alone the Imperial Court. The people from the Ninth Cloud sect looked at the comments below with mocking expressions. The entire Imperial Star region didn't know what was going on here. Ancestor, why don't we spread the news? I really want to see the Imperial Star region's reaction. At this moment, an expert from the Ninth Cloud sect said with a smile. That's good too. Let's make it clear that we have nothing to do with this battle. The ancestor of the Ninth Cloud sect thought for a moment and nodded. After all, the Chasm battlefield incident was too shocking. They could already predict that the entire Imperial Star region would be shaken. Damn Dragon Palace, how dare they provoke the Imperial Court and attack our frontline planets while the Night Race and the Imperial Court aren't here? How many lives do they have? I thought that Dragon Palace wasn't bad, but now they're provoking us. We can't let them live. At the same time, in front of the Chasm battlefield at the border of Pingy Island and the Imperial Court, dozens of Imperial Court protectors gathered in a vast palace. It could be said that all the peak divine kings of the Imperial Court were here. The old protector holding a walking stick roared with a murderous look on his face. This old man was the peak divine king protector from the selection of princes and princesses. He was also a prince. Tiger, don't be angry. It's just a small dragon palace. They took advantage of the war in the Chasm battlefield. Our experts and the Night Races, the Arch Knight God, all entered the Chasm battlefield. That's why Dragon Palace succeeded. After the Arch Knight God and the others came out, we didn't even need to do anything. We could just hand them over to the Night Race. An old man next to him said calmly. Humph, if the teleportation formation wasn't destroyed, I would have brought people to kill them before the war broke out. A small dragon king dares to be so arrogant? The old protector holding the walking stick snorted coldly. Dragon Palace is just a small ant. The main battle here is still the war. Leave them to the Night Race, don't be distracted. Another old man next to him said with a smile. No matter what, we can't contact one of our guardians. He must have been assassinated by the Dragon Palace. This crime is enough to exterminate the entire clan of the Dragon Palace. After this battle, issue a kill order. All forces, planets, and people related to the Dragon Palace will be annihilated. A burly old man in the center said coldly, "That's right. It's been hundreds of millions of years since anyone dared to provoke our Imperial Court. It's time to let the other forces in the Imperial Star region know the consequences of offending us." The surrounding old men nodded in agreement. Not good. Look at the AI. Suddenly, an old man's eyes widened, and his body trembled as he stood up and roared. Chapter 2781. What? One of the Imperial Court's protectors exclaimed in shock, causing everyone around to be stunned as they looked at him in shock. Cough, 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 cough. How is this possible? How is this possible? The old man stood there and ignored them. He stared at the computer in his hand in disbelief, and his expression kept changing. "What's wrong, Elder Fei?" One of the protectors couldn't help but ask. The other protectors frowned and immediately turned on the computer in their hands. "Emperor Night God has fallen. Dragon Palace killed Emperor Night God. Dragon Palace has Void God Emperor level cultivators." The moment he turned on the computer, he saw all sorts of similar headlines. There was also a lot of information in his communication device. The Imperial Court protectors were stunned when they saw these titles. Their eyes widened as a bad premonition surged in their hearts. Look at the announcement from Nine Heavens Sect and Heaven Breaking Sect. At this moment, the expression of the old man who spoke first changed as he growled in a low voice. The group of Imperial Court protectors immediately searched for information on Nine Heaven Shattering Heavens and the others. After opening it, they saw an announcement. Emperor Night God has fallen. The experts of Imperial Court and Night Clan on Cold Night Island have all been killed by Dragon Palace. Nine Heavens Sect did not participate in this matter. We are willing to fight for humanity, but we will not participate in internal conflicts. It was a line of words but also a statement. Nine Heavens Breaking Sect's forces were sandwiched between Dragon Palace and Imperial Court. They didn't dare to make a choice. They could only make a statement to express their neutrality. But when the Imperial Dynasty's protectors saw this announcement, all of them shuddered. Nine Heavens Sect and Heaven Breaking Sect couldn't just make a statement like that. Their statement meant that the information was true. This caused the protectors' expressions to turn extremely ugly. At the same time, their eyes were filled with deep shock. Emperor Night God had fallen. Even though Emperor Night God had just become an Emperor God, he was still an Emperor God. Now he had fallen. How long had it been since an Emperor God had fallen in the Imperial Star region? This made their scalps go numb. And under the statement from Nine Heavens Breaking Sect and Heaven Breaking Sect, the number of comments increased by 100 million every second. Everyone felt that it was inconceivable, so they were all very shocked. A few days ago, the Night God Emperor had appeared and suppressed the entire Imperial Star region. How long had it been? He actually died. Moreover, did the Dragon Palace have the power to destroy the Night God Emperor? How could a small Dragon Palace have such an ability? Many people couldn't believe it, but after all, it was a statement from two great sections. The continent of the Nine Clouds was very famous in the Imperial Star region. They couldn't joke about a God Emperor. They didn't dare. This stunned everyone in the Imperial Star region. Just now, countless people in the Imperial Star region had mocked the Dragon Palace for courting death. Now, it was a naked slap in the face. There were also some comments below the two sects that caught their attention. The Dragon Palace is very powerful. They have close to 300,000 Immortal King experts. They have a powerful array master who can make arrays that can resist God Emperor experts. In terms of power, the Dragon Palace has two God Emperor experts. Close to 300,000 Immortal King experts and that giant thing that flew out from the deep abyss. It's the Dragon King's subordinates, God Emperor subordinates. The Dragon Palace is too terrifying. The Imperial Court, the Night Clan, and the Sky Demon Sect were all destroyed by the Dragon Palace. Not a single one was left alive. A battle between God Emperors. I saw it with my own eyes. The entire deep abyss is reigning after the Night God Emperor died. The comments were obviously from Nine Heavens Breaking Sect and the experts and disciples of the other forces. Open the highest authority of the AI, contact an ancestor of the Nine Cloud Sect. At this moment, a protector of the Imperial Court roared with a gloomy expression. Open the highest authority, contact an ancestor of the Nine Cloud Sect. The AI's voice rang out. All the Imperial Dynasty protectors walked over with interesting expressions on their faces. The death of the Night God Emperor and the strength of the Dragon Palace. If it was all true, they couldn't imagine the consequences. But at the same time, in the void, an incomparably huge group of people was flying majestically. Their leader was an expert from the Nine Heavens Great Sect, the Heaven-Shattering Sect. In the abyss, a group of abyssal species was approaching the entrance under the lead of an emperor god. They knew that they couldn't stay here for long. However, the intelligence system on the wrist of the elder at the very front suddenly lit up, forcefully displaying an image. The ancestor of the Nine Cloud sect was shocked as he stared at the image displayed by the AI. "I'm a protector of the Imperial Court. I have something to ask you." An old man appeared in the image. Beside him there were dozens of others. The voice was heard and Ancestor Nine Heaven's expression changed. He waved his arm and everyone stopped. "Protectors of the Imperial Court, what can I do for you?" Ancestor Nine Heavens asked respectfully. "Tell me everything that happened in the Deep Abyss battlefield. Don't leave anything out and don't lie. If you do, you know the consequences." The protector of the Imperial Court asked with an expressionless face. "Yes, protectors. What I'm about to say is the truth. I dare not hide anything." Ancestor Nine Heavens said quickly. Then he told them everything that happened in the Deep Abyss battlefield. Hearing what Ancestor Nine Heavens said, the protectors of the Imperial Court fell silent. After that, the image on the AI disappeared. "Ancestor, something big is going to happen." The experts of the Nine Heavens Great Sect watched as the screen disappeared. They were shocked and said, "What? Something big is going to happen. I hope we won't be dragged into it." Ancestor Nine Heavens nodded and said helplessly. He knew how terrifying it would be when the protectors didn't say a word. Huff. At this moment, within the vast palace, the group of Imperial Dynasty protectors stood there and panted heavily. Each and every one of them had an ugly expression on their faces. "Let's report this to the Great Ancestor. This is no longer something we can decide." After a few minutes of silence, one of the Imperial Court's protectors said, The rest of the protectors nodded. They didn't roar in anger or scold the Dragon Palace, because it was completely useless. Moreover, the strength that the Dragon Palace had displayed shocked them. It could be said that they had the combat strength of two emperor gods. This matter was no longer something that the protectors could decide. However, they knew how troublesome this matter was for the Imperial Court. Chapter 2782, Hong. In front of the Abyss battlefield at the border of Pingy Island and Imperial Court. In a void crevice at the back of the battlefield, a shrine was hidden within. All of a sudden the entire palace trembled. Looking in that direction, one could see cracks appearing in the void. Long cracks appeared in the entire sky. A terrifying pressure was emitted from within. The shrine was shrouded in clouds and mist. 3 vast figures sat on 3 thrones floating in the air. At the front, dozens of Imperial Dynasty protectors bowed respectfully. Their faces were slightly pale. The rumble just now came from a great ancestor of Imperial Court slamming his palm on the thrones angrily. This caused the group of Imperial Court protectors to hold their breaths. Emperor Knight has fallen. That Dragon Palace also has the fighting power of an Emperor God. If I'm not wrong, the huge creature that flew out from the abyss is one of the giant beast system. A vast figure looked at the furious old man in the middle and said, Emperor Knight has fallen. It's going to be dangerous. We have to send someone over to Cold Night Island. Otherwise, the abyss will expand deep into our Imperial Court. The vast figure on the right said solemnly. That Dragon Palace might be in cahoots with that woman from the giant beast system. Coupled with the battle of an Emperor God from Dragon Palace, we will be in danger. The vast figure in the center roared in a low voice as he suppressed his anger. Their Imperial Court had 3 Emperor God experts on the surface. However, they had one more in the dark. Originally, they were prepared to make a sudden move on this side of the battlefield. In a 4-on-3 situation, they could kill 80% of the Abyss species. But now that Emperor Knight had fallen and Dragon Palace had teamed up with the giant beast system, it became a 4-on-4 situation. Another point was that they couldn't just ignore Cold Night Island. At the very least, they had to send an Emperor God over. 3-on-4. In such a situation, if they couldn't hold back the Void God Emperor, their Imperial Court would suffer heavy losses. Bring all the resources of Dragon Palace over. The vast figure on the left said. Yes, great ancestor. A protector answered immediately. He waved his arm and information appeared in front of the three emperor gods. Great Ancestor, seeing the development of the Dragon Palace, I feel that it is a little unbelievable. Their growth speed is simply terrifying. The protector couldn't help but ask. From the information they obtained, the Dragon Palace had developed to such a level in less than 6 years from a weak organization that only had a few god kings. This was simply a fantasy story. However, the information that the Imperial Court found in the Imperial Star region wouldn't be wrong. This Dragon Palace is growing at the same speed as that woman. Extremely fast and terrifying. The three emperor gods narrowed their eyes when they saw the information regarding the Dragon Palace, and one of them said in a deep voice, "Back then, the Imperial Court chased after that woman, and in just a few years, that woman brought disaster to the Imperial Court. The development of the Dragon Palace was no slower than that woman. It was obvious that Dragon Palace and that woman knew each other. Say, do you think it's possible that they're the reincarnation of some powerful existence after their death?" The massive figure on the right frowned, feeling uneasy. That woman and the Dragon Palace had risen too fast, so fast that they were terrified. Even god emperors like them felt fearful. This kind of speed of improvement, they could only think of it as the result of some terrifying existence recultivating with a drop of blood. Furthermore, it wasn't just one expert, but many. Such an enemy was extremely terrifying. The elder's words made the other two massive figures grip their thrones tightly. They felt uneasy. Then, Great Ancestor, what should we do? A hint of fear flashed through the eyes of the Imperial Court's protectors as they asked. It's hard to say if it's a powerful existence recultivating with a drop of blood, but it won't be that easy to deal with the Imperial Court. The massive figure on the left said with a cold expression. The protectors were shocked and their expressions kept changing. From what the Great Ancestor and the others said, they couldn't do anything about the Dragon Palace and the current situation. Maintain the current situation for now. After a long silence, the Emperor God in the center said helplessly. The situation was already out of control for them. Great Ancestor, why don't we ask the Dragon Palace and the Giant Beast Department? What are they trying to do? One of the Imperial Court protectors said with a changing expression. His words caused the surrounding protectors to look over, and the three vast figures also slightly paused. Ask the Dragon Palace and the Giant Beast Department what they were trying to do? They were showing weakness to them and asking for peace. No need. They killed so many of our disciples. If we ask for peace, how would we be able to face them? If they really piss us off, what can the Giant Beast Department and the Dragon Palace do? The massive figure in the center shouted coldly. Yes, yes. The protector immediately nodded and replied. Maintain the status quo and retreat. The cold voice made the group of protectors retreat outside hurriedly. There's still a hidden danger. How should we deal with them next? The figure on the left said slowly after the protectors left. Continue to get people to investigate the Dragon Palace. Get all the details. An expert recultivating with a drop of blood shouldn't appear here. We're too far away from the 10,000 races. The figure on the right said. Even if he's not a terrifying existence recultivating with a drop of blood, he's still an inheritor of a heaven-defying treasure. The figure on the left couldn't help but say again. Then what should we do? Beg for mercy? The figure on the left was slightly enraged. Our Imperial Court has been in the Imperial Star region for more than 500 million years. We're not that easy to bully. If we really fight, we'll definitely win. The figure in the center suddenly stood up and disappeared. The two figures on the left and right looked at each other, nodded slightly and left. They didn't have any way to deal with the current situation. Kill their way over and destroy the Dragon Palace? Not to mention whether they would escape or not. Once they left, the Imperial Court's territory would turn into an abyss. Once it turned into an abyss, it would be the main battlefield of the Abyss species and the Giant Beast Department. Now they could only wait for all the favorable news. Or they could maintain a tacit balance between the two sides. As for asking for peace, the Imperial Court definitely wouldn't do that. Because they were the Imperial Court, the kings of this region. They had their own glory and radiance. The Imperial Court that had stood for hundreds of millions of years, how could they be so easy to deal with? However, they also felt a sense of urgency and danger, like a sword hanging on a beam. Chapter 2783. Wu Wu. Dragon King. Dragon King. At the same time, Wang Xian arrived at the planet where the Dragon Palace was located through the teleportation array and little mansion. Next to it, the towering Dragon Peak towered there. Seeing the arrival of Dragon Palace, the group of Dragon Palace members greeted respectfully. Let's go back to the Dragon Palace first. Wang Xian nodded at them and patted Little Mansion's head. Let's go and take a look at your future home. Woo. Little Mansion nodded slightly and flew towards the Dragon Palace. With a thought, Wang Xian led Little Mansion in. Feeling the energy within, Little Mansion could not help but cheer. Prime Minister Turtle, send someone to bring all the dragon blood in the dragon transformation pool for me to consume. He turned to Prime Minister Turtle and ordered. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle replied. Also, call all the leaders over and tell them to bring all the resources we have obtained this time. Wang Xian ordered again. Yes. Arriving at the Dragon King Hall, the leaders of Dragon Palace, Tianzhen and the rest walked in quickly. Greetings, Dragon King. Everyone's faces were filled with excitement as they bowed respectfully. Tell me, how are the rewards from this battle? Wang Xian waved his hand and asked with a smile. Dragon King, we have gained a lot from this battle. 1 Void God Kingdom, 1 God Emperor Corpse, 11 Immortal King Corpses, 65 Ninth Order God King Corpses, and about 140,000 God King Corpses. In addition, Du Jiao obtained 3 Ninth Order God King Abyssal Species Corpses and over 10,000 God King Corpses. In addition, all the resources combined should be comparable to 3 to 4 Pinnacle God King Corpses. Prime Minister Turtle replied with a smile. Dragon King, can I continue to improve? Tianjin could not help but ask excitedly. Yes. Wang Xian smiled as he sat there. Tianjin had contributed greatly to this battle. Moreover, after the Heavenly Array was upgraded, it would not be a simple upgrade. Once the Heavenly Array was upgraded, it would be able to exterminate a First-Order God Emperor realm existence. With sufficient preparation he could even eliminate 2 or 3 of them. However, Longfeng's strength had reached the upper limit. Unless there was a God Emperor realm divine tree as a base, the Heavenly Array wouldn't be able to create something that could kill 3 First-Order God Emperor realm brambles. However, we still have some things to do. We have to go into the abyss, said Wang Xian. It's Dragon King. Tianjin nodded his head slightly. He knew that he still had some matters to attend to. With the current situation, we don't know how the Imperial Court will react. Everyone don't level up for now. Everyone get ready. Once the Imperial Court God Emperor comes, immediately escape into the abyss. Wang Xian continued to instruct. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle and the others nodded. No one knew how the Imperial Court would react, but the Dragon Palace had to be prepared. Heavenly Array Earth Cultivators, follow me into the abyss. Wang Xian stood up immediately and said to him. Yes. Tucson and Heavenly Formation immediately responded. Otaku. Wang Xian shouted and the 3 of them came to the front of the house. Woo. Xiao Zhai stuck out his tongue with excitement in his eyes. You wanted to ask for food. No more, I'll give you more in the future. Take us to your master. Wang Xian patted on Xiao Zhai and said to him. Woo. Xiao Zhai answered immediately. Xiao Xian will go with you. At this time the girls who received the news flew over and said to Wang Xian. Let's go. Wang Xian looked at them and nodded his head. I wonder how Qingyue has been over the past few years. Tsk, that bad guy from the Imperial Court. We'll annihilate them in the future. That's right. They left Qingyue alone in the abyss for several years. We don't even know where Lingxiu is now. The girls said angrily as they came to the top of Xiao Zhai's head. Let's go. Qingyue is fine and so will Lingxiu. She still has the Earth Divine Dragon to protect her. Wang Xian comforted the girls. When Tuzhe had obtained the Divine Dragon Soul, he had sensed that something was amiss. However, he hadn't been willing to give up his Divine Dragon body. Later on he met Qingyue and the rest. Qingyue could sense his Divine Dragon body. During the pursuit, Tucson was almost annihilated. His body collapsed and Qingyue separated his body. One was a Divine Dragon body, and the other was similar to Kuan's. The Earth Divine Dragon's body was separated from them along with Lingxiu. All of this was caused by the Imperial Court. The Dragon Palace would take revenge soon. Whoa. Xiao Zhai flew out of the Dragon Palace and let out a low growl. A black hole appeared in front of him and he dived into it. In the next moment they arrived at a faraway place. Xiao Zhai flew at full speed and soon entered the abyss. Whoa. Xiao Zhai was like a king when he entered the abyss. He exuded the aura of a void god emperor. Some abyss species in the abyss immediately prostrated themselves and didn't dare to move. Some of the characteristics of Kuan were similar to the abyss species. I'll be able to see Qingyue in a few hours. Wang Xian murmured with anticipation in his eyes. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. They had been separated for about 7 years. They had never been apart for so long. While Wang Xian and the rest were flying towards Lan Qingyue under the lead of Xiao Zhai, the Imperial Star Domain was still in an uproar. What's going on? It's been a few hours and there's no response from the Imperial Court? This? I heard that 5 guardians of the Imperial Court were killed by the Dragon Palace and the remaining disciples were tens of millions. Why isn't the Imperial Court responding? Oh yes, what's going on? There's no response from the Imperial Court. Could it be that they're afraid of the Dragon Palace? That's possible. After all, the Abyss War has broken out. Now that the Dragon Palace has appeared, the Imperial Court might not have the time to deal with it. I heard that the Abyss on the Cold Night Island is devouring the void crazily. The Night Clan has also fallen because of the Dragon Palace. Almost all their pinnacle experts have been killed. Countless people were discussing on the AI. They were shocked that the Imperial Court didn't respond in the past few hours. At the same time, they were filled with sympathy for the Night Clan and some were mocking them. Our Imperial Court doesn't do anything. Once we do, we will definitely destroy them. So what if there are 2 Void God Emperors in the Dragon Palace? We have been standing in this void for more than 600 million years. How can a Dragon Palace go against us? To deal with external threats, we must first settle our internal affairs. All of you just watch. It won't be long before our Imperial Court destroys the Dragon Palace. So what if there are 2 Void God Emperors? Very soon the Dragon Palace will become stray dogs. However, to the disciples of the Imperial Court and the people in the Imperial Court's territory, the Imperial Court didn't do anything because they were preparing. Once they did, they would definitely destroy the Dragon Palace. Chapter 2784. The artificial intelligence system was full of discussions. The disciples of the Imperial Court firmly believed that the Imperial Court was invincible and that the Dragon Palace would be destroyed soon. Many people supported this view. But many didn't agree. To them, the Imperial Court was much stronger than the Dragon Palace and had been in the Imperial Star region for more than 600 million years. Their foundation was unfathomable. But it was impossible to destroy the Dragon Palace. After all, the Dragon Palace had 2 God Emperor level experts. The entire Imperial Court only had 3 God Emperors. Even if they were stronger than the Dragon Palace, the chance of destroying the Dragon Palace was too small. The artificial intelligence system was full of arguments. The Imperial Court kept silent. It wasn't that they didn't want to erupt, but that they couldn't. Especially when they found out that the Dragon Palace was related to that woman from the Giant Beast clan, the Imperial Court couldn't do anything. They could attack the Dragon Palace on the Demon Island, but they would also be attacked by the Giant Beast clan. It was hard to say who would lose more. The Imperial Court didn't want to see such a situation. But 5 hours later, the Imperial Court made a statement. The Dragon Palace is in cahoots with the God Emperor and the Abyss species. The Giant Beast clan is from the Dragon Palace. This news shook the entire Imperial Star region. The Dragon Palace is in cahoots with the God Emperor of the Abyss? They are in cahoots with the Abyss species? Is this for real? The Dragon Palace is the enemy of humanity, the enemy of the entire Imperial Star region. Destroy the Dragon Palace, destroy them. No wonder the Imperial Court didn't destroy the Dragon Palace. They are in cahoots with the Abyss species. They are traitors of humanity. Destroy the Dragon Palace. On the smart brain, some people didn't believe it, but the humans within the Imperial Dynasty territory did believe it. Apart from that, someone from the Nine Heavens Breaking sect also said that a God Emperor level giant flew over from the Abyss and was a subordinate of the Dragon King. Being able to enter the Abyss and ally with the Abyss species meant that the Dragon Palace was a traitor of humanity. More and more people on the artificial intelligence system shouted that they wanted to destroy the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. Even the experts from the Nine Heavens Breaking sect were shocked by the Imperial Court's statement. Imperial Court's statement might be true, but they also knew how many abyssal species the Dragon Palace had killed. The Dragon Palace was the leader of the hero ranking and the faction merit ranking. Why did they hunt the Abyss species that were on the same side as them? Or kill a peak God King realm Abyss species? This was very suspicious. Things might not be that simple. However, although there were all sorts of suspicions, the artificial intelligence system, under the intentional guidance of the Imperial Court, caused the Dragon Palace to become an existence that everyone hated. Filled with righteous indignation, Everyone declared that they would destroy the Dragon Palace. He supported the Imperial Court's God Emperor experts to kill the traitors of the human race. After all, it was the Dragon Palace that brought war to them. Dragon King were almost there. Wang Xian and the rest did not know about the information on the artificial intelligence. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. The brain belonged to the Imperial dynasty and they could say whatever they wanted. Dragon Palace couldn't retort at all. The Tisonian stared ahead and said to Wang Xian, "Are we almost there?" Wang Xian stood up and stared ahead with anticipation in his eyes. "That is the Sea of Abyss?" Wang Xian stared ahead and a vast ocean appeared in his line of sight. How big was this ocean? He couldn't see its boundaries and couldn't sense its boundaries. "Yes, Dragon King. We call it the Sea of Abyss. The entire Sea of Abyss is huge. Even Xiaolan can swim in it for a few hours," said the Tisonian with a smile. Wang Xian nodded and stared ahead. Woo woo woo. When Xiao Zhai got closer, he let out a long roar that reverberated towards the depths of the Sea of Abyss. Woo woo woo. Dozens of seconds later, a response was heard. Wang Xian stared ahead. He could sense a familiar aura getting closer and closer to him. Woo woo. 5 minutes later, a humongous figure appeared in their sight. Above that humongous figure stood a beautiful figure. Looking at that figure, Wang Xian was overwhelmed with excitement. "Qingyue! Qingyue!" Shu Qing and the rest shouted excitedly from the side. Lan Qingyue extended her hand and waved in their direction. "Qingyue!" As they got closer, the group of girls flew over and hugged Lan Qingyue when Xiao Zhai and Xiao Lan stopped. "Qingyue! Sisters, we meet again." The group of girls hugged each other with reddened eyes. It had been 7 years. It had been 7 years since Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu and Xiao Lan went missing to hold back the Thunderclap God. If it weren't for Lan Qingyue and the rest, they would have been dead. The group of girls were exceptionally grateful to Lan Qingyue. "Move aside, let me hug you." Wang Xian walked over and said with a smile as he looked at the girls hugging each other. "Xiao Xian." The group of girls laughed. Lan Qingyue looked at Wang Xian with sparkling eyes. "Come on, let your husband hug you." Wang Xian smiled, walked over and hugged her shoulders. "Xiao Xian, I didn't take good care of Lingxiu. All right. I know what happened to Lingxiu. Let's go look for her. I can sense that she's safe now." Lan Qingyue spoke with reddened eyes but was interrupted by Wang Xian. "It's been hard on you for the past 7 years." Wang Xian said slowly as he patted Lan Qingyue's shoulders. "It's nothing. I just miss you a little." Lan Qingyue said softly. "Hee." Wang Xian smiled and patted her head. "Leave the future to me. I'm already very powerful now." Lan Qingyue lifted her head slightly and said confidently. "Who would have thought that a goddess who owned 2 God Emperor level pets would be like this?" "Alright, our Qingyue is very powerful." Wang Xian nodded with a smile. "Let's go to the palace in Xiaolan's body. We still have some matters to settle." Lan Qingyue said with a smile. Let's go." Wang Xian nodded and the group flew to Xiaolan's mouth immediately. Woo woo. When Xiaolan saw Wang Xian, it let out an excited roar. Hee. Wang Xian patted it and entered the palace in its body. Xiaolan, which was over 100 kilometers in size, was equivalent to a small town in its body. Xiao Xian, Lingxiu was separated from me because of the experts of the Imperial Court. I don't know where she is now. I must take revenge. Lan Qingyue came to the palace and exuded a murderous aura. After a few years of pursuit and a few moments of life and death, Lingxiu's whereabouts were unknown. Lan Qingyue had to take revenge. After 7 years of adulthood, she had grown into a decisive ancient god Kuan breeder who could take charge of an area. Chapter 2785. Qingyue, what's the situation on your side? In the palace within Xiaolan, Wang Xian looked at Lan Qingyue with heartache and asked. Xiao Xian, we have the upper hand. I don't know how many god emperors there are in the imperial court, but we can attack and defend with the Abyss main battlefield. We have 18 peak immortal king experts and over 20 billion Abyss species. Xiaolan is comparable to a second-order void god emperor, and Xiao Zhai is a first-order void god emperor. Given our strength, we are not a match for the imperial court. But we have an emperor god realm Abyss species here. We have formed an alliance and it has a lot of subordinates. There are dozens of peak immortal king level Abyss species, and hundreds of billions of members. This attack on the imperial court was initiated by it. That's why we joined in. Lan Qingyue said to Wang Xian. Qingyue, your forces are not weak either. Wang Xian sighed when he heard her. 18 peak Immortal King subordinates. That's a lot more than the current Dragon Palace. It's alright. I have an agreement with that Abyss species to attack the Imperial Court's frontline 5 days later. The Imperial Court is already prepared. Lan Qingyue smiled. 5 days later? Can you delay it for half a month? In half a month the Dragon Palace can improve tremendously. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he said. Half a month? Shouldn't be a problem. But I think Xiao Xian, the Dragon Palace, doesn't need to participate. The battle this time will definitely be exceptionally tragic. My current subordinates are a group of abyssal species. They only obeyed orders because they were intimidated by Little Blue's pressure. They don't have high intelligence and only know how to kill. If they die, they die. Lan Qingyue frowned and said. Don't worry. The Dragon Palace will improve tremendously this time. By then, I will have the combat power of an Emperor God. Moreover, there will be another Emperor God in the Dragon Palace. Emperor Night God of the Night Clan has fallen. I think we can summon the Emperor God Abyss species from the Cold Night Island and launch a joint attack. Our Dragon Palace can launch a surprise attack, or we can kill our way to their base camp. Wang Xian smiled. That works too. Lan Qingyue nodded slightly. If there were 2 more God Emperor level existences during the war, it could almost change the situation of the war. Let's talk about the details later. Let me see if I can build a Dragon Palace in this Abyss Sea. If it is possible, it will be convenient. At that time I can put the main Dragon Palace here. If it is not possible, I can only build a teleportation formation here. Wang Xian stood up, made a move and flew out. Lan Qingyue and the rest immediately followed behind. Ding. Build Dragon Palace? As he came to the sky above Shaolan, the notification of the system sounded. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. He took out the materials and immediately built a Dragon Palace here. Haha, it will be much more convenient with this Dragon Palace. When Wang Xian saw the Dragon Palace that was completed, he was thrilled. Being able to build a Dragon Palace in the Abyss meant that one could directly teleport from the Abyss to other Dragon Palaces. In this case, if the main Dragon Palace were to be moved here, Wang Xian and the rest would be able to evade the crisis easily even if the Celestial Emperor of the Imperial Court were to launch a surprise attack on the Dragon Palace on the Demon Island. Even protecting the North River Sect and the Moon Sect wouldn't be a problem at all. Let's go back to the main Dragon Palace first. Wang Xian said to one of them. Let's go, Qingyue. Let's go home. The group of girls immediately entered the Dragon Palace and teleported to the main Dragon Palace through the teleportation formation. Lan Qingyue looked at the familiar Dragon Palace with a smile. After entering the main Dragon Palace, Lan Qingyue looked around. Let's go, Qingyue. The Dragon Palace has been upgraded while you were away. Let's bring you around. The group of girls crowded around Lan Qingyue and said immediately. Don't be in such a hurry. I'll accompany Qingyue first. Cough cough. You guys can come over too. Wang Xian coughed and immediately flew towards the Dragon King Palace with Lan Qingyue. As for what they were going to do, of course they were going to do it. The group of girls rolled their eyes at her and didn't say anything. After all, it had been 7 years. A few hours later, Wang Xian flew out of the bedroom above the Dragon King Palace comfortably. His face was glowing. Lan Qingyue followed behind with a smile. Prime Minister Turtle, control the Dragon Palace and fly into the Abyss immediately. Inform the Moon Sects to stay on the planets with Dragon Palaces. If they are attacked by the experts of the Imperial Court, enter the Dragon Palace and teleport them to the main Dragon Palace. Wang Xian immediately ordered Prime Minister Turtle when he arrived at the Dragon King Palace. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded and responded immediately. The rest of the experts of the Dragon Palace, come to the Dragon Transformation Pool. Wang Xian shouted and his voice reverberated throughout the Dragon Palace. Yes, Dragon King. All the members of the Dragon Palace answered loudly. Wang Xian also moved and came to the Dragon Transformation Pool. The entire Dragon Transformation Pool was filled with dragon blood. The sacred dragon blood gave off a fragrance that made one want to devour it. Tianjin, get ready. I'm about to break through. Wang Xian said with a smile when he saw Tianjin. I'm finally going to break through. Tianjin's eyes were filled with excitement. After another breakthrough, he would regain the strength of an Emperor God. Although he was still far from his peak, he was very close. All members of the Dragon Palace, according to Prime Minister Turtle's instructions, enter the Dragon Transformation Pool for improvement. Wang Xian looked across the members and said, Yes, Dragon King. All the members of the Dragon Palace answered immediately and flew towards the Dragon Transformation Pool. The entire Dragon Transformation Pool contained the resources for this war. The corpse of Emperor Knight could help Tianjin raise his strength to the Emperor God level. 10 Immortal King corpses could help Wang Xian possess the strength of an Emperor God. In addition to the resources, the Dragon Palace could produce another 6 Immortal King Realm experts and 65 Ninth Order God King Realm experts. After all the members of the Dragon Palace were upgraded, the number of God King Realm experts in the Dragon Palace could reach 350,000. Currently, there were only about 400,000 members in the Dragon Palace. Even with the addition of Aocia's Devouring Dragon, there were only slightly more than 500,000. A 90% chance of possessing the strength of a God King was already very strong. I'll leave the matters of the Dragon Palace to you guys. As Wang Xian spoke, he leaped into the Dragon Transformation Pool. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle and the rest answered immediately. Brr, brr. With a roar, Wang Xian turned into a 7-colored divine dragon and landed in the middle of the Dragon Transformation Pool. At the side, Tianjin also entered the pool. Hundreds of thousands of members of the Dragon Palace also entered the pool to improve themselves. Half a month later, the strength of the Dragon Palace would be earth-shattering. Chapter 2786. Boom. Boom. Located in the center of Demon Island, the gigantic Dragon Palace flew out from a star sea and headed towards the abyss. Although the Dragon Palace was not as fast as Shaozhai, it was not slow either. At full speed, it should be able to reach the Abyss Sea in 2 days. Long Feng followed behind. The Dragon Palace's flight attracted a lot of attention. On the Demon Island, although Jiu Tian and Yu were the main force, there were still many ordinary people on the planets. There were also many spies from the Imperial Court. The majestic Dragon Palace and Dragon Peak attracted the attention of many experts. Many people were surprised that the Dragon Palace was flying towards the Abyss. This also confirmed the fact that the Dragon Palace was connected to the Abyss Divine Emperor. This matter was transmitted to the artificial intelligence system and attracted the attention of the entire Imperial Star Domain. Countless people scolded the Dragon Palace for being a traitor to humanity and said that it deserved to die. They hoped that the Imperial Court would take action as soon as possible to destroy the Dragon Palace. The artificial intelligence system was full of scoldings against the Dragon Palace. At first, there were some who spoke up for the Dragon Palace, but they all disappeared. Although the artificial intelligence system was scolding the Dragon Palace and asking the Imperial Court to destroy it, the Imperial Court did not respond. It was not that they did not want to destroy the Dragon Palace, but that they did not have the strength to do so. Time passed. 2 days later, the Dragon Palace arrived at the Abyss Sea. In the next few days, Wang Xian and the rest continued to improve their strength in the Dragon Transformation Pool. In the Dragon Palace, Lan Qingyue and Prime Minister Turtle were planning the next battle. The entire Imperial Star Domain was in peace for the next few days. This was the calm before the big battle. The artificial intelligence system was bustling with activity every moment. But to many people's regret, the Imperial Court still did not take action and did not destroy the Dragon Palace. Especially for the Night Clan. Countless people from the Night Clan asked the Imperial Court to send troops to destroy the Dragon Palace. Currently, the entire Night Clan only had one peak God King overseeing it. Compared to when they were at their peak, there was a huge difference. The birth of the Night God Emperor did not bring them to another peak. Instead, they fell to the bottom. Moreover, they had to be wary of the Dragon Palace at all times. What would they do if the Dragon Palace experts attacked? Great Ancestor, we found a piece of information. At this moment, more than 20 protectors of the Imperial Court stood in the void-cracked Divine Palace in front of the Pingy Abyss and reported to the 4 majestic figures in front of them. This time, all the God Emperors of the Imperial Court were here. Speak. 4 vast figures leaned on their thrones and asked with unsightly expressions. They were well aware of the current situation. Great Ancestor, according to our detailed investigation over the past few days, we have discovered a problem. Be it the woman from the Almighty Beast system or the Dragon Palace, they both appeared in the small, remote galaxy of the South Star system. Although that galaxy is small, it has a very famous place, the Emperor Fall Battlefield. One of the protectors in the middle bowed respectfully and said, Emperor Fall Battlefield? The 4 majestic figures sat up straight, looked at each other and frowned slightly. They couldn't be more familiar with the Emperor's Fall Battlefield and the Battle of Emperor's Fall. The Battle of Emperor's Fall had taken place in the Imperial Star region, and the 4 of them had watched from afar. That vast battle had caused their hearts to palpitate. That terrifying array master from the Heavenly Sorcerer domain had fought against the 5 Void God Emperors of the Success Sorcerer Association alone. He fought till the heavens and earth turned dark, killing countless experts of the Success Sorcerer Association before dying. As for the Sky Formation God Emperor who had died in battle, they also knew that they were absolutely no match for him. Even with all the power of the Imperial Court, they still weren't a match for him. After that battle, the Shaman Union, one of the top powers of the 7 major regions, had fallen to its current average standard. It's the Great Ancestor, the legendary existence from the Heavenly Shaman domain in the Emperor Fall battlefield. According to what we know, that woman and the Dragon Palace both appeared near the Emperor Fall battlefield. Another very important point is that there's an extremely powerful formation master in the Dragon Palace. The reason why Emperor Knight was killed was because that formation master had set up a formation and gathered the power of a dozen peak god kings to unleash the power of a god emperor. According to our investigation, that formation master is called Sky Formation. He's always been in charge of the Dragon Peak of the Dragon Palace, and his position in the Dragon Palace seems to be very high. The Imperial Court Protector's eyes flashed as he said, "The heavenly formation of the Dragon Palace?" The 4 vast figures were slightly shocked, their eyes flashing. We also found out that the Formation Master has an extremely powerful formation ability. He can directly teleport the enormous Dragon Peak over a long distance, and the formation he set up is very difficult to shake. Also, we found out that the heavenly formation of the Dragon Palace used to form a wood-type formation, very similar to the formation that the Void God Emperor once set up in the Heavenly Shaman Domain's Wood World. The Imperial Court Protector said, waving his arm, and 2 images appeared. One was a picture of the Star South Galaxy's dragon planet covered in green leaves, and the other was a picture of towering trees surrounded by green leaves. The 2 looked extremely similar. That formation master of the Dragon Palace used to be the Sky Formation God Emperor? One of the vast figures in the center stood up and said in shock, "It's very likely." The 3 massive figures at the side stood up as well, their eyes shining brightly. A former legendary God Emperor is actually still alive. How unexpected, but we have no grudges with him. Also, who are the Dragon King and that woman? One of the figures murmured. Let's not talk about the identity of the Dragon Palace Dragon King and that woman, just the Sky Formation God Emperor alone is not someone we can fight against at his peak. The vast figure on the right said slowly, "Isn't he still dead? Until now he hasn't recovered to his peak. Let's not talk about the others, just the Sky Formation God Emperor alone is a hanging sword, we have to get rid of him." The figure in the center sat down slowly, his eyes flashing. The Shaman Society could kill the Sky Formation God Emperor back then, they can do the same now, and conveniently, the 3 figures beside him also slowly sat down, their faces revealing cold expressions. If the Shaman Society knew that the Sky Formation God Emperor isn't dead, they would definitely be so scared that they wouldn't be able to eat or sleep well. Moreover, the Sky Formation God Emperor has his own force now, the Shaman Society will definitely not let him grow fully. The 4 figures looked at each other, their faces revealing a faint smile. If we contact the Shaman Society, it might take 10 to 20 days, we just have to defend during this period. At that time, Dragon Palace, that woman will all die. Chapter 2787. Great Ancestor, can we really kill them when the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance arrive? In the Divine Hall, the protectors of the Imperial Court asked the 4 Great Ancestors excitedly. As long as the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance arrive, they will all die. Cold smiles appeared on the faces of the 4 vast figures. The power of the Witchcraft Association was much stronger than that of the Imperial Court. Most importantly, every Emperor God of the Witchcraft Association was an extremely powerful array master. Each of them could fight against 2 or 3 people of the same level. Another thing was their strange and powerful array. Once a God Emperor from the Witchcraft Alliance locked onto you, they could find you even if you fled to the ends of the world. There was no way to escape. The God Emperors from the Witchcraft Alliance, including the 4 of them, would be close to 10. As for Dragon Palace and that woman, they would only have 5 Void God Emperors if they added in 2 more Abyss God Emperors. As long as the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance arrived, they could all be killed. Thinking of this, the 4 Great Ancestors of the Imperial Court couldn't help but laugh. Great Ancestor, I will bring people to the Heavenly Witchcraft region as soon as possible. One of the Imperial Court Protectors said excitedly. We met the God Emperors from the Witchcraft Alliance and asked them to contact us. After all, we gave them timely news. They should thank us. The figure in the center said with a smile. Yes, great ancestor. The group of Imperial Court protectors shouted respectfully. The four gigantic figures immediately disappeared with smiles on their faces. The two of you, head to the Heavenly Witchcraft region immediately and invite the experts from the Witchcraft Alliance. One of the Imperial Court protectors said immediately. Yes, Chief Protector. We might not even need to invite them. The experts from the Witchcraft Alliance will be here soon. The group said with a smile. The Sky Array God Emperor from millions of years ago had revived and appeared in the Imperial Star Domain. If the Witchcraft Alliance knew about this, they would be shocked and rush over with all their might. They would kill the Sky Array God Emperor before he recovered to his peak. One had to know that the Witchcraft Union had regressed by hundreds of millions of years during the Battle of Emperor's Fall, and countless powerhouses had perished. We and some of our disciples have been feeling aggrieved for the past few days. A small dragon palace has killed so many of our experts and disciples. Now, we can finally let them know the consequences of offending us. The Imperial Court protectors laughed heartily. The grievances in their hearts were finally released. Send someone to monitor the entire abyss immediately. Monitor the Dragon Palace and all forces related to the Dragon Palace. Immediately announce on the AI that we will destroy the Dragon Palace in a month at most. The Imperial Court's protector roared with a cold expression. Yes. The Imperial Court protectors replied with excitement in their eyes. The Imperial Court has announced that they will destroy the Dragon Palace within a month. The protector of Dragon Palace declared that he would destroy Dragon Palace within a month. The Imperial Court is finally going to make a move. Support the annihilation of the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. Let them know the consequences of offending the Imperial Court. Kill the 9 clans. Don't let any of the forces related to the Dragon Palace go. Destroy them. Are they finally going to make a move? No one can offend the Imperial Court. No one. I suggest we hang the head of the Dragon King up to let everyone know the consequences of offending the Imperial Court. An hour later, the Imperial Court released the news on the AI. When everyone saw the news, they were filled with excitement. It was especially so for those from the Imperial Court's territory. The Imperial Court was their faith. What happened to the Dragon Palace made them feel aggrieved. Now that the Imperial Court had finally announced that they would destroy the Dragon Palace within a month at most. This was inspiring. Many disciples of the Imperial Court were extremely excited. The AI was boiling with excitement. Everyone was looking forward to the upcoming battle against the Dragon Palace. They were looking forward to the Imperial Court's Emperor taking action a month later. The entire Imperial Star Domain was in an uproar. However, the Dragon Palace was quiet. Within the Dragon Transformation Pool, a boundless and majestic aura was constantly being emitted from it. At the center, a huge, colorful body was coiled in the center. There was a miniature dragon shadow flickering on each dragon scale. His dragon body was slowly enlarging, and each dragon scale was becoming more and more resplendent. A pair of dragon horns shone with colorful radiance. Gradually, the colorful radiance covered Wang Xian's entire body. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up to level 5 Immortal God King. Boom. At this moment, the system's voice sounded, following which, a majestic aura was emitted towards the surroundings. In the Dragon Transformation Pool, the rest of the members of the Dragon Palace opened their eyes and looked at the net in the center with respect. Congratulations, Dragon King. They prostrated themselves in the Dragon Transformation Pool and shouted respectfully. Swoosh. Wang Xian opened his eyes and swayed his huge dragon body as he circled above the Dragon Transformation Pool. He looked around and lifted his head slowly. From his body, an extremely powerful energy was emitted. He couldn't help but let out a roar. The colorful radiance gradually shrouded him and only a blurry figure could be seen. Like a mysterious dragon, its head but not its tail. Name: Wang Xian. Race: Yin Yang 5 Elements Dragon, one with the dragon. Level 5 Immortal God King, 7th Transformation of Divine Dragon Transformation. Origin Source: 1545444/50000000000 Superpower: Dominate the marine animals, rule any marine animals lower than your own level, devour living beings. Extract origin source from living beings. 5 Elements Control Cultivation Technique. Divine Dragon Transformation Superpower: Soul assimilation, spirit attachment, yin-yang 5 elements dragon. Islaws, 5 elements grindstone dragon country in the palm, dragon head descending, 10,000 miles dragon body, yin-yang 2 poles, yin-yang 5 elements bowl, divine dragon tail whip. Law of substance, metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light and darkness, 5th transformation, God kingdom, dragon palace own dragon palace. Level 7 dragon palace members. 411042 Wang Xian closed his eyes and revealed a smile as he looked at his attributes. 5th order immortal god king, 1st order god emperor combat power. Currently Wang Xian was standing at the peak of this dazzling starry sky. Whoosh. He slowly opened his dragon eyes and looked down. Dragon King, I still need a few more hours. Tianjin smiled and said to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly and flew into the Dragon King Hall. Prime Minister Turtle, Qin Yu. He transformed into his human form and shouted. Dragon King, the Dragon Queen is outside the Dragon Palace. She should be here soon. Prime Minister Turtle rushed over and reported to Wang Xian. All the upgrades should be completed today. How are your and Qin Yu's preparations? Wang Xian asked directly. Dragon King, we have decided on the time. We will attack tomorrow. Prime Minister Turtle replied immediately. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.